Hello, human peoples. You're listening to the podcast network of Gamefully Unemployed. To support us and gain access to great exclusive podcasts like Fox Mulder is a Maniac, Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Star Trek The Next Futurama, and our latest show, Spiel Boys, head over to patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. We do game streaming, movie nights with our patrons every Friday night, and you can even commission your own podcast about anything you want. Literally anything, within reason, and we have to do it. You are quite frankly out of excuses not to go visit patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. That's patreon.com/GAMEFULLY unemployed, which is spelled like it sounds.
Podcasting about a movie.
Movies we saw.
Based off a trailer in another movie.
Oh yeah, that is true, yeah.
Yeah. Hi, everybody.
Hello, everyone.
My name is David Bell.
My name is Tom Ryman.
And we just watched Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving. For the givings.
You know, every Thanksgiving is a horror movie if you're a yam.
That's true. Thank you, Seinfeld. Thank you, 80s comedian.
I used to love this town. Until what happened that night. Tomorrow's Thanksgiving, and I'm tired of pretending like everything is normal when it's not.
I want things to go back to normal, too.
Show some enthusiasm. Thanksgiving is an institution here.
Okay.
If you're the turkey, every Thanksgiving's a horror movie.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
This is the Eli Roth Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Long awaited, based off this campy trailer that he made for Grindhouse.
I'm not sure how common knowledge that is anymore. I assumed just like everybody knew, but then I had to remind myself that Grindhouse was like almost 20 years ago. It's 2007.
Yeah.
And it's like an obscure... I don't even think you can watch the movie in that format really anymore. Where it even had the trailers.
I think DVD. No, even the DVD, the trailers are like separate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw it in theaters too. I remember the double feature Grindhouse in theaters. And they had these fake trailers in between. Edgar Wright did Don't, which was my favorite.
That's a great one,
Narrated by Will Arnett. Yes. Another favorite was, of course, Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Which promised sort of a really kind of 70s, 80s.
It was very
sleazy.
Yes, scummy.
Remember, he has sex with the turkey. It's like Texas Chainsaw style.
Yeah,
I thought.
Yeah, it's it was for a movie called Grindhouse, and the idea was to rehash the really grimy drive-in slasher movies, like something further from Halloween, even though that's also technically a holiday horror movie, and closer to something like My Bloody Valentine, I think. But even grimier than that, though.
Even grimier, yeah, for sure. And so I don't know, for whatever reason, Eli Roth made a bunch of other films. I just remembered he made Death Wish, which I never saw.
Oh, it's bad, Dave. It's bad. I keep forgetting he did that one too.
I considerably dropped off with Eli Roth films. I liked Cabin Fever, and I think that's it for the most part. Hostel's not bad; it's just not my thing.
I like Cabin Fever. The two Hostels that he did, I thought they were pretty good. And I'm all right with Green Inferno. It's definitely not good.
I didn't even see that one because I sort of knew exactly. I remember seeing the trailer and hearing about it, and I'm like, okay. So, like, he loves othering people, and I knew immediately. I was like, okay, the loggers are going to save them, aren't they?
Yeah, it's very much that South Park episode.
Yeah, and so like that's his views has always been like a little bit like if you're Southern, or if you're not like a white dude from LA, that's how it felt like. You're othered from him, to the point that even movies about like other Americans. We're like, ooh, look at these Southern freaks.
I mean, that's Texas Chainsaw.
Oh, yeah, for sure. That's the thing, is that it's not unusual, but then he never stopped doing it.
It's kind of the only sandbox he likes to play in. Like, he's tried some other stuff. Like, I dug a House with Clock in Its Walls. I liked that one.
Oh, yeah, I liked that one a lot. That was great.
he's tried other things. Like Death Wish obviously is a little bit different, and House of the Clock and Its Walls is different. But you're right, he has sort of stuck to that for a long time. And so it's cool that he's doing like this. He's going back to doing a horror movie for adults, because the House with the Clock and Its Walls was PG. But it doesn't really have that in this one. It's just a straightforward slasher movie, a slasher whodunit.
Yeah, I didn't look it up, but I don't think people from Pilgrim
Times,
people from Plymouth, I don't think they talk like Will Hunting all the time. But that's like, whatever. People do that shit all the time. What did you think of this?
I really enjoyed it, actually. I thought this was.
Word.
I thought this is pretty good.
I almost fell asleep.
Sure.
In this movie.
Okay.
So we talked about that Thanksgiving trailer.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted that movie. This felt like a throwback to the early 2000s, and I feel like we've hit that point because people seem to like this movie a lot. But it does. Would you agree that's what it feels like? Like the vibe felt like early 2000s slasher.
To a degree, but I think it's closer to something like a My Bloody Valentine.
I guess it wasn't,
but it's not shot like that. Obviously, he's not.
That's what I mean. It's shot it's shot in sort of spaced. Like like you look at I Know What You Did Last Summer or the sequels or Urban Legend. It's always kind of like the popular kids who are the victims. And it's very much like, okay, here's the football people, the cheerleader. It feels like those were like homages to the 80s, but they were like copies. You know what I mean? It just feels like more that vibe to me. And even that, like, the kills felt very like, I don't know, pretty standard, I guess. I just, like, this wasn't a bad movie. I didn't get much from it, is how I came out of it. And I understand why it was fun. But like I knew who did it in the first 20 seconds. Did you get that?
No, actually.
Oh, okay. So I knew who did it in the first 20 seconds, and I didn't stop knowing who did it, meaning that I never second guessed it. So spoilers for this movie. The first shot is a Michael Myers like Halloween
It's an homage to the first shot of Halloween, yeah.
Yeah. Approaching the house, and then it cuts to who's approaching, and it's Patrick Dempsey, the cop. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, is that his very unsubtle way of telling us he's the killer? And in the first 20 seconds, I was like, I bet he's the killer. Mm-hmm. And then as the movie progressed, he never became a character. Like, he was a side character, and I'm like, but he's Patrick Dempsey, and he's the first person build. So he is the killer then. And then as the killer, they were like outsmarting the cops and using high tech. I'm like, yeah, he's the killer. It's the killer. And then even when they like cheated via editing where they show him like kind of teleport, I was like, yeah, but he's still the killer. And then he does the thing where he like, oh, I shot the guy, but he wasn't there. And I'm like, it's weird they didn't show that because you're the killer.
Well,
I mean, he's like, I'm the killer. And I'm like, yeah, I know.
At that point, he's throwing the clues at us because he's about to reveal it. So there's a bunch. A bunch at once. I mean, congratulations. I didn't. I don't know what you want me to say to that.
I thought it was very obvious. That's all. I thought it was. I
did notice. I mean, obviously, he gives the game away right there with the Halloween shot.
Right.
But when it turns and reveals that it's like, oh, it even sounds like a guy in a mask breathing. So I just dismissed it as, oh, he's having fun. He's doing the first shot from Halloween because we're doing a Thanksgiving. We're doing a holiday slasher movie. Why not just, it was loud enough and kind of, fun, I guess, quote, like the tone was enough that I just immediately dismissed it as part of just like, oh, this movie's just having fun. Like, it's like, it knows what it is. It's self-aware in that way. It's not self-aware in a Scream way. Everybody behaves more or less like you would expect people to behave in a situation like this.
I appreciate that. Well, no. Okay, hard agree, actually. No one acts like you're expected to behave.
Really?
There's a killer. Mm-hmm. Remember the high school scene where they're just going alone in the high school?
No
school
one would be locked like down. Yeah, school would be locked down, yeah.
The main characters regularly go alone, and do impossibly like dumb things. I would like the part where the woman gets up in the house and she's been trapped and she gets upstairs and goes to the window and she can't get out. My brain just assumed, I guess there's no door. And then when he comes to get her, she runs out the front door later. And I was like, wait, there was a door up there and she never went to the door?
It was downstairs.
No, she goes up.
Yeah, she goes
she's
up
in the, and then you're right, and then she's hiding from him, holding the bottle, and he's holding the pitchfork, and then he stabs himself. He stabs through the thing, and she keeps running, and runs out the door, and then he grabs her and drags her back in.
No, she's upstairs at that point. So
that's what I'm saying. She runs upstairs, looks around, goes to the window, and is like scared, trying to get out because the guy hasn't come up yet. Opens the fridge to find a weapon, right? And in that moment, I just assumed like...
No, the fridge just opens.
Okay, yeah. But she's like trying to escape at this window. Mm-hmm. And it didn't even occur to me like... I just assumed there wasn't a front door or something. But then like the front door is in the next room. And it was like, oh, well, you should have just went out the front door when you came upstairs. Like if I was running away from someone and I ran upstairs in their house, the first thing I would do is look for the door, not go to the boarded up window. And then when they reveal like, oh yeah, it's in the next room over in this like open area space. It's just like stuff like that. The woman in the restaurant who gets like cornered and then she just leaves she just leaves again that room. And I was like, why are you going back out? Like, I don't think anybody in this acts intelligent. And the killer does the teleporting thing. Like that scene, he's waiting outside in a car. And I was like, why are you in your car? Why did you know that was going to happen? That's weird. Like there's everybody's sort of in where he needs them to be, I thought. And they don't act... Again, once they learn that there's a killer on the loose, it takes them way too long to like act sensibly. They go off alone very often. And they just they go in and out of sort of being scared by that, I thought. Like the main characters are sort of forget this several times. So yeah, I don't think anybody acts normal in this, which is fine. That's the thing. It's a horror movie, and it's a slasher, and it's trying to be cheesy, right? So like that's okay. I accept that.
Okay.
I mean, would you agree with that? Like they don't act normal. I don't think they act normal at all in this.
I mean, like I thought the dad, for example, being reasonable when the daughter is correctly pushing back with all the craziness that's going on in town. It's like, you should probably not do this sale that you're doing. And then he's like, yeah, you're probably right, I shouldn't. And it's like, well, we shouldn't do the parade. Yeah, you're probably right, we shouldn't. But then it's like, oh no, well, we should, because we've got to, it's like our only thing we can do to get him out in the open. It's like, oh yeah, I guess you're right. Like it's like that relationship, she's able to move her dad. Whereas like typically because he's like the owner of the store where this huge Black Friday riot happened the year before, and that's the motive for the killer. There was all this carnage, so it gives like 6 or 7 different people in town perfect motive to be a murderous pilgrim. And he's the architect of all that. So you would expect him to behave a certain way, just like an unrepentant asshole right up until the point that he gets murdered. But he's kind of a real person. I'm talking about stuff like that.
Right. I just think that's bare minimum. Like, and again, I don't think that's
fair, but it's a slasher movie called Thanksgiving, Dave.
Well, that's what I was going to say is I don't think it matters. Eli Roth, he's not Jordan Peele. And what I mean by that is like, he's not, that's why that first shot, I immediately said, oh, that's the killer, because I knew Eli Roth he's just not that sneaky.
No.
Like that's as sneaky as he gets.
Pretty much.
And so like, he's not particularly like trying to be artistic. So, and again, it's a cheesy slasher, right? So like, I don't care if the characters act dumb, but they do definitely act dumb in this. And I would say the killer, there's certain things though that like, I guess this is all to say that the story elements, there's nothing there. Like for example, the killer kills people Thanksgiving themed, right? And to the point that he cooks them alive, he carves them up. He does this like everybody go around and say what they're thankful for. He bashes their head, right? Mm-hmm. Now this is going to sound silly, but like Jason Voorhees kills people by like grabbing whatever weapons near him. They establish him as like an animal. He lived in the woods for years. He is not sociable. In Scream, the killers there, they're imitating horror movies. They're obsessed with horror movies. They establish that. So they're making the murders in that way. In this, like, the killer doing that stuff, again, it felt more like one of those like more late stage slashers where the way he's killing people, like his motivation, it's like I get it, but the over the top way he's killing people, I expected someone like Leatherface, someone who's unsociable, someone who's weird. But the fact that it's this cop doing it, I'm like, why are you doing it like this? Like, I know why the Thanksgiving, I know why it's the anniversary, I get that, but why are you so elaborate? Why are you carving someone up like this? You like, that's something that's incredibly deranged, right?
Yeah.
And so it's weird. I found that weird that this cop is doing that, and there's no real motivation for why he's doing that way and being so brutal, other than the fact that it's a cheesy movie. Which again, that's fine. It's not amazing. Like, it would have been cooler if it. I would have liked it more if that was more, I don't know, in tune with his character. I guess this is all saying that I didn't find anything from like the characters and plot of this movie. So what was left is the kills, right?
Sure. I follow.
And my problem was the kills I didn't love. They were all right. And that's why, to me, it reminded me of like an early 2000s slasher where it's like, it's all right, it's fine, but there was nothing like that grabbed me from this movie, unfortunately, in the end. So it's not terrible. The audience was having fun with the kills. Like, he's having a lot of fun. That trampoline scene,
Yep.
that was really fun.
Yeah.
Like, I love the dirtbag gun dealer guy.
Oh, yeah. The guy who's throwing his party where he's just explicitly selling booze to teenagers.
Yeah, he's terrific. That's one of Eli Roth's strengths, I think, is he loves a good creative dirtbag.
Yeah,
The
weirdo.
character.
He also didn't write this one.
Interesting.
I think that's because while I've been an apologist of sorts for some of his movies in the past, I do recognize, and I wrote a whole thing on Collider about this, that he is not a good writer. So
does he have a co-write credit or anything?
I think he probably
does.
I think he probably has a co-write on it, but
right, he's probably in charge of the writing process.
Sure, I'm just saying that like the script is always his biggest problem. So I think having somebody else be the screenwriter for this helped a lot.
Right. Yeah, he has story by credit. That's all. Right.
So yeah, I think that's a big component of it. It sort of lets him kind of play around with the stuff that he has fun playing around with, which is the gore. So I do agree that like the kills are pretty straightforward. They're not like super creative in a Final Destination type way. But what I did like about them is how hard he's going into the gore, because that, you know, it tends to, it's pretty tame in mainstream movies generally. In mainstream horror movies, anyway. Like, I don't know.
Oh, no, I agree.
It tends to be anyway. So it's like, I was having fun with that aspect of it, where it's like, yeah, the kills are, well, he's just like killing somebody with an axe, or killing somebody with corn skewers, or that little turkey slicing, I forget what you call that little wire, but he cut somebody's head off with that.
Oh yeah.
They're all pretty basic, but like he's going real hard into the gore effects, and it all looks pretty cool. So I was really enjoying it just from that standpoint. I also genuinely thought this movie was funny. Like there are a couple of parts that I genuinely laughed at. Like the kid in class reading his Thanksgiving report and then showing his abs to dry his eyes.
Yeah, that was great.
That was killer.
I liked a lot of the humor. I still found like there's still this like kind of cynical cruelty to
yes,
like the like the opening sequence. The problem with a sequence like that is that it's just such a cynical view of how people are.
Yes.
Like I worked at Target on a Black Friday, and
I've worked at a Lowe's on a Black Friday. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to pretend that it doesn't get out of hand, but this idea of this like hordes of like shoppers who are like, you know, like they're such cartoon characters. And then they just like trample people and they like grab a waffle maker out of a dead guy's hand.
Yeah.
And it's just like that's what I mean. It still feels like a little othering, where it's like it's about this poor family who their big crime is they ran a store, and all these like, you know, oh, look at these hordes of dumb consumers that they did it themselves, and then they're getting blamed. Like, I know that's not really what he's saying.
No, it's not.
But like that is like the scene of the trampling. It makes it like the crowd like just idiots. Like just like and like it's just like right away the inciting incident. I'm just like, well, this doesn't feel real. This doesn't feel like a real world.
But I think that's on purpose, right?
Yeah, I guess ultimately he's not saying anything either. So
no, it's a very, like you said, he's not Jordan Peele. He's not subtle. He did the Halloween shot where he fucking told us who the killer is. But like,
right.
So this is the most commentary you're going to get from him. And it's not even really commentary. It's just satirical. In you know, it's like, oh, people turn into animals when it's time when they're consuming, you know, when they're going out to shop. It's a very, very old observation. It's a very tired observation, but it doesn't matter because that's not the point of it. The point of it is to create a good enough reason for the murderer to exist.
For sure.
And give you a decent enough pool of suspects, and also he doesn't absolve, like you're totally correct that you absolutely could read that scene as being like, oh, this poor rich family. But he does show a few of the main cast of victims as being unrepentant assholes during the riot, and as being also complicit in it. Like they were all complicit in it, undeniably.
But it's the actual people there, right? Like it's the guy who incites the riot. It's still like the crowd.
The kids are inside taunting them. Like the dickhead full football player is taunting the guy who we learn he punched in the face earlier after the football game. Right. So they egg it on, and then they're all complicit to a degree, so they're not totally absolved, but
it's not giving them like an arc or anything.
No,
like
it's not the point of the movie.
Right. That's why I'm almost like, I don't know, even simplify it. Make it like
even more simple, yeah.
Yeah, make it a Black Friday thing where there's just like a fire breaks out or something like that. Like it's such a loud thing to do, and then nothing really gets said. I don't know. And you're right, the gore is great. I wish he shot it a little better, because I don't like
I wonder
like that trampling scene didn't. It didn't feel as intense as it could be. You know what I mean?
I wonder I had this thought, I wonder if it's a rating thing. Because it is very fast, some of it.
Right, and it doesn't build like tension as much as it could. So I kept thinking about another film watching this, and that's the Final Destination films.
Yeah.
And those have creative deaths over the top, and they were made 20 years ago. I also think those films do very good with tension and like shooting their environment and showing you these things happening. Mm-hmm. And I just kept going back to that as like, man, I want a new Final Destination film. The things like the guy who gets murdered in his house, the security guard with the cat. Great idea with the cat. The cat was a really cool idea.
That was fun,
That shot of the cat was really cool. But then I got disappointed because he gets stabbed in the gut, and I couldn't figure out why he couldn't see the man. Right, but I couldn't figure out why he couldn't see the man who stabbed him. Because he's walking slowly in this open kitchen towards his cat.
He's behind the couch.
See, I don't think he shot it in a way that I understood that when I was watching it.
You see the hand with the bread slicer comes up from the ground.
Right.
So it is a little unclear, yeah. It is a little unclear, but I think he's behind the couch.
I think so. Like, I think Eli Roth, like, I
he's
think
not
he's
best.
He's best as a producer, I think, because he has these ideas, and I think they're not terrible ideas, these broad ideas, but I thought there was a lot to be desired for this movie from the execution, I guess. And like the deaths were good, but they weren't so good that I could ignore the rest of the film, I guess. And as a murder mystery, I just, like I said, I always thought it was Patrick Dempsey because, I mean, at what point did you notice it was him?
I didn't. Honestly, the movie does a lot to sort of absolve him. Like, it tries to show you that he is nearby in his capacity as sheriff a few times when the killer shows up. But I'm sure if you mentioned teleporting. I want to give him the benefit of the doubt. I figure if I go back and look, you might find more space for like, oh, I see where he could have gone and done that.
Scream is not too much different.
Right. And I really didn't get suspicious of him, honestly, until she finds him knocked out in the street. And I was like, I bet that's and then things started to click. The real subtle thing suggesting a relationship between him and Gina Gershon did not click until he fucking says it at the end for me.
Right. So like that shot when he's in the street, it does mean his character just attacked her at a fence. And that means like there's this weird thing where like the teleportation is the fact that he's trying to manage this house of murders while like being a cop in this office. So like they do a thing where like they get the cell phone pings, right?
Yeah.
And they go down. That's when he's like straight up teleporting because they showing him in the office, like with the cops chasing that cell phone thing. And like he started streaming and it's like, how did he do that? Like, how did he, I don't know, remotely start that phone to stream, have all those people tied up? Like, that's when it's like, okay, he went to the murder house. He tied all those people up. He put that woman he cooked that woman alive. He did all that, and then he ran back to work. And then he like
that happens before. They're in the office when they get the ping.
Right.
He tells the detective and the one cop to stay there, and then him and the deputy are like, okay, we'll split up the tunnels. I'll go take this tunnel. You go take the other tunnel.
Right.
And thereafter, I thought he's just on.
Runs.
Yeah. Thereafter, I think he's just on the radio.
Okay, and so he runs and kills that woman, and then it's probably like Scream where it's not supernatural, but it's like you're really, like, oh, you're running.
He really
around.
does have to be to He's like Dennis Nedry trying to make the boat.
Yeah, they're doing a lot of cheating, I thought. But the thing to me is, besides that first shot, the thing to me that just screamed it at me is that he's a side character. Like he's Patrick Dempsey.
He's the most
like first
famous
build.
actor in the film. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same reason like we talked about like some of the Screams. It was the same issue where it's like you'll get these like really like big these big actors. They're again first build, and then when I realized he wasn't the main character, that's when I realized for sure. When I was like, oh, so this girl's the main character. That means he's the killer then, because he's not. They also didn't give him any arcs or anything, right? Like he's not working with her that much to be. Like, they plant him in the way you'd plant in the killer and not like, oh, this is a side character or this is like, you know, your Courtney Cox's, you know. It's not, he has no arc whatsoever. And he's just sort of in the background the whole time that I was like, oh, they got him this because he's the killer. That's why they did it.
Yeah.
And, yeah, it just, I don't know.
But, I mean, it's not always the case. I mean... They do. Yeah,
it's funny.
They do a similar thing, and I don't want to say the name of the show because I don't want to spoil it. But there's a recent
for sure
mystery show on a notable streaming channel that does a similar thing, where the most famous actor in the cast of possible suspects not only isn't the killer, but ultimately doesn't have too much to do with the story either.
Right.
So you always are thinking about that, and I know that they know about that. So. It honestly didn't really elevate him ahead of the other list of potential suspects in my mind enough for me to be like, it's definitely him.
It's interesting because I'm usually the person who doesn't get the killer. Like I'll I'll do the thing where every scene I'm like, it's him. Oh, it's him.
Well,
it's him. So like eventually I do get it right, but not because this was like the first time, literally 20 seconds. I counted. I was like, oh, he's the killer, isn't he? I was very surprised.
And that scene
that
also, because it also, honestly, that scene further discredited him as a suspect in my mind. Because I mean, there's no fucking way he would have done that shot if it was him.
Right, it's just that he's not subtle. He's really not subtle.
No. Man, what a funny thing to do. But
yeah,
I do. Oh shit! I had another thought, and I started laughing about that Halloween shot again. It's not bad. Like I honestly appreciate the instinct, and I have to believe this level of intent was behind it. Like, it's so much of an obvious homage that he probably thought they won't. There's no fucking way they'll think he's the killer after I do this.
Right.
But honestly, okay, I remember what it was. The movie spends so much of its time focusing your suspicions on one of the main character's two dipshit boyfriends.
Yeah, that's part of why I was also like it was Dempsey, because it was so loudly pointing to those two guys. That's true.
But they're both so fucking suspicious, Dave.
They are, which also makes them completely unlikable. So I was like,
especially the dude she stays with.
Yeah.
Like the dude who's not Bobby, the awesome pitcher who saves her life. The other guy who made like racist comments to Bobby.
Right.
Like vaguely racist comments.
Yeah, there's very, very few likable characters.
There's
the main
a couple. I like her, and I like the Scuba, her friend.
Oh yeah, but they don't have too much.
They don't have too much, but
I wanted like that dirtbag drug dealer to be one of the main characters.
He was great. I liked him. I liked his little employee, that kid Jacob, who also was writing the term report for the quarterback and just copied the teacher's blog to fuck him over.
Oh yeah,
I loved that kid. I just thought Scuba had enough funny enough lines and was a nice enough dude that I was like, oh, I like him. I hope he doesn't get killed. And he didn't. And the main character was fine. She actually had a conscience out of all of the main people involved with the store. So it was like, hopefully she doesn't get killed.
She still didn't have
there's nothing to these characters, to be clear. I totally agree with you. But
their
it's also a slasher
motivations.
movie, so anyway, sorry.
Right? No, for sure, I agree. Like her like going to get the security camera footage. Like there felt like a little bit of busy work, like within this,
because it's playing. It's leaning into the whodunit. So, but if you had already, I get why this is frustrating for you. Because you had already pegged it and fucking decided it was Dempsey. So all this is bullshit for you.
I'm literally looking at my notes, and like halfway through I'm like, it's cute they want me to think it's this kid when it's Dempsey. I really wrote Patrick Dempsey isn't a character in this unless he's the killer. I wrote that halfway through my notes. Because it is like there's no reason for him. Otherwise, they even have another FBI guy, so they have two law enforcement. Like he's redundancy in the plot, unless he's the killer.
He has a deputy that's like equally a possible suspect until we see him get shot with a dart.
Right.
But that doesn't happen until late in the movie.
Yeah, and again, none of this is that bad. That's why I wish it was wilder, I guess. That's why I wish it
I do agree. It wasn't as depraved as you might have expected from the trailer, because the trailer was made, promising a grindhouse drive-in movie, and that isn't really what this is. It doesn't go over the top in that grimy sort of greasy strangler type way.
Right. And the kills are for the most part, and the tension, like the part where it's not shot that much for tension. Like when she gets chased in the school, it's shot from the killer's point of view, and I was like, well, don't do that. That's the least tension.
Well, I liked that game.
Slashers have done that.
I liked that game with her where she's hiding her head with the cosmetology dummy heads.
So it's a fun idea, except why would you do that? Just hide behind the thing.
Yeah, I know. Because you're in a movie, Dave. I don't know, man.
I know. I know why he did it, but I'm like,
fun.
Yeah. No, I understand that. And like the audience I was watching had, at least some of them had fun. I did notice there was some people who again, it's like, it's it's like if you don't like the gore, like I think there was some people who hated the woman in the oven, which of course it's there
that
for.
Was pretty awful. Yeah,
I expected as much. I knew that shit was going to happen
because it happens in the trailer, and it's like that's apart from the trampoline, that's the most notorious part of that trailer. So you're like, well, he's going to do both of it, but like the trampoline's actually the perfect way to describe it, because if you've seen the Grindhouse trailer, what it implies but doesn't show you is that this cheerleader is going to come down on the trampoline in the splits position, and a knife will land on a knife on her vagina. This movie does not do that. The knife cuts her Achilles tendon. So the movie doesn't go for the depravity of like the Grindhouse movie that sort of was its inception. So if you're going into it expecting it to be over the top in that way, it is not.
Right. By the way, for a while I thought there'd be multiple killers. That was the only time I was thrown off. I was like, it's Dempsey.
Yeah.
And I was like, maybe it's all the cops.
Yeah, that crossed my mind because all the cops seem fucking suspicious. And it's like, why can't you catch this guy? Sorry.
He teleports in that scene, I believe, because he breaks the guy's neck and then he's under the trampoline. And I was like, how'd you get down there, Dempsey? I guess he could have, like, when during the reverse shot, could have slid under. But that was another one that I was like, what?
I do want to see a shot of him slithering like a little snake in his pilgrim outfit, like a little piece of shit. Yeah,
for sure.
No, I had a lot of fun with this one. I'm sad you pegged the killer so early, because I feel like if you didn't, you might have enjoyed it more. I do agree. I feel it's a little too long. I feel like you could cut a little bit out of the last act.
For sure. And I think it should have been more fun. Like so when they finally kill the killer, that's an example for me that felt
kill the killer.
Right. This to me felt very early 2000s horror, because it doesn't, like, again, he's not trying to be clever, so nothing like pays off. There's nothing that gets set up that's paid off in the end or anything like that. They're just in this empty warehouse, and I was like, where did all the cops go? She films his confession.
Her bracelet is the biggest payoff.
Right. Yeah. She films his confession, and then for some reason the cops still aren't there, and they had like just left the building, and like another, like, I feel like 5-10 minutes passes of this chase where he hooks the car up. And
it is way too long for the cops to get back there. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like it's an okay little game, and then she shoots. They set up kind of sweatily that she can shoot this rifle,
a musket,
and a musket. She shoots the thing, and it explodes, and it maybe kills Patrick Dempsey. And I thought, like, that's fine, I guess. Like, that was kind of that was the problem. Is like I said, this isn't a bad movie. It just never did much that make me go like, "Ooh, that was great." Like, for the most part, I would there would be a setup, and then it was a murder that was kind of like, I'd seen better versions of it, or other, like the trampoline. I kept, again, thinking about Final Destination, the scene with the balance beam. And like, I kept thinking about like, oh, I remember better versions of this.
It's a slightly different game with Final Destination.
Absolutely.
Gotta push back a little bit on that one. But for Final Destination, it's a different expectation. Like,
right.
The whole point of that is looking for the Rube Goldberg machine.
Right. I just didn't like, ultimately the kills didn't really stick in my mind.
No, I totally get. It's like watching. I think the Friday the 13th reboot. I think one of the biggest bummers about it is that he machetes so many people. It's like, come on, Jace. Like,
right. And like, this is a little more creative, but it wasn't. It just like wasn't over the top enough, and I had figured out who did it, and all the characters are fine, but they're not like, he's not. Again, that's not the point of the movie. He's not putting attention there, and like, it was funny, and that was nice, but like that's why ultimately it's just like, yeah, it was all right, and then I think I'm just gonna forget this movie.
That's fair. That's fair. I thought this is one of his better ones.
It is.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It is one of his better ones as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, it really
like
is.
the ending credits music,
When it goes right into When Eagles Dare. Oh my God.
Sure. I don't know why you chose this song, but
no idea. No fucking clue.
It's not Thanksgiving themed. It's all right.
Nope.
Eagle like a bird, maybe.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's just punk rock, I guess. I did.
Yeah.
I
They
did
did
really.
the Friday the 13th ending, which was
Yeah, that's a
it was
great
fun.
one. That was fun. His burning gnarly corpse appearing in the closet was fun. You didn't laugh at the clown chopping off the turkey.
Oh, that was fun. Yeah. That was the one part
they
that
show you him like a moment before. They show this guy in a freaky clown costume dancing up. I'm like, I bet that's him because they set it up at the scene. It's kind of like it's not shot the same way.
That's in the fake trailer.
That's
right?
in the fake.
I'm pretty sure.
Well, he gets his head cut off in the middle of the parade, but I think he's dressed as the pilgrim in that shot. So, like, it's sort of like the 4th of July scene from Jaws. It's not shot that way or anything, but, like, they're on the parade float scanning the crowd for the people in pilgrim masks, and they're stopping people in pilgrim masks, and they keep faking you out with, here's a guy in one of the storefronts. Could that be him? Like, they show you a lot of different people, suspicious people, in pilgrim masks and stuff, so they're playing that game. And then, like, right before the turkey guy gets killed, you see this dude skip by in this freaky-ass clown costume. So you're like, well, that's him. And, like, the next shot, he just fucking chops the turkey's head off.
That was great because
just right in the middle of the street.
The way I was thinking of it, because I was like, okay, Patrick Dempsey did it. He knows what the parade route plan is.
Yeah.
So I thought what was going to happen is they were going to drive all the way to the warehouse. He kept saying it's going to look empty, but trust me, it won't be. So I thought the reveal was that it will be empty and Patrick Dempsey will be there to kill them. That's what I thought was going to happen. Mm-hmm. And so that gave me a nice little like, oh.
Yeah.
It also made me realize the moment he's like throwing out flashbangs, I was like, yeah, it's Patrick Dempsey. It's the cop. It's the cop with the flashbangs.
They mention it's military ordnance. They're like, oh, is it the one guy who mentioned his military brother? Except you never really suspect that guy because he's too awesome.
Right.
He's the guy that gives them guns and stuff. He gives her the ring that saves her fucking life. The ring with the little knife in it that she cuts her ropes with.
I don't think they wanted us to suspect him, did they?
I don't think seriously. He's the military thing was like they briefly throw that out there, I think, but
right.
I don't think he's ever really a serious suspect. But that's what you do in a whodunit. You throw shit out there. Yeah,
it felt like that vibe was the early 2000s to me, which it was like introduce some weirdos. Like they had that kid who comes up and they're like, "What's wrong? Late night," and it's like it's not you. I know it's not you.
He's tiny. Of course it's not him. Yeah.
You're a tiny little guy.
Like,
but
the Pilgrim is a 6 foot fucking dude.
So. Yeah, and they keep being like, look at this weirdo. Is it this weirdo? And I'm like, no, it's going to be the most ordinary one because that's how these work. It's going to be, the cop.
Well, one of the characters says that actually because they suggest her new boy toy, her new fuckboy, Ryan, as the possibility. And one of them says, well, it wouldn't be Ryan. He's too nice. Like, oh, don't. It's, right. That's what they always. One of them says, "Well, that's what they always happens. The nicest ones are the biggest psychos. They're just hiding it the best." And that's been Patrick Dempsey's character the entire movie. Is he's just so nice and so helpful.
Right.
Yeah. For sure. That is. You're absolutely right. Yeah.
I need a Knives Out version of this, and what I mean is that like the slasher whodunit at this point is kind of. It's like they've done it all too. Like it's a little played out. So there's no version of this. Like the Screams are also like this. The sequels where it's like, really, we're just doing more of this. We're just doing this over and over again.
Yeah, we've discussed that for sure.
Yeah,
they're just exhausting at this point.
Right, and it's like I don't know, make it supernatural, go over the top, do something to jog me out of this, I
always appreciate a good mystery. It doesn't need to be that fancy. Just give me a solid whodunit that genuinely keeps me guessing, and I'm fine with it. And because this one's also a slasher, I'm getting that out of it too. So I really liked this one.
I mean, I do like a good mystery for sure, but I think the slasher mystery genre in general, like that specifically. Does need to kind of shake things up because unlike murder mysteries, we've gotten a lot more of these. That's why ultimately it just gave me like urban legend vibes, where it was like throw it on the pile of slasher murder mysteries. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where it's like killer shows up, does some murders.
Dave, we should watch Urban Legends again.
Oh, absolutely.
and the sequel, what is it called? Final Cut.
Probably. That sounds like what it would be called.
Sounds like what the Urban Legends sequel would be called.
Yeah.
We should watch the sequel. Have you seen the sequel?
It's probably.
Oh man, you're gonna be so excited when we rewatch it and you see who the killer is in the sequel.
Yeah.
It's so fun. Such fun.
What's the one? I know Jared Leto's in one of these.
He's in the first one.
Okay, yeah. He famously didn't remember being in it.
He sure
And
did.
I'm like, that's okay. That's okay, Leto. I don't remember you being in it either.
Yeah. I really don't. He's barely in the movie. He's like,
Yeah.
he basically is he's like one of the prime suspects, and then you find out it's not him at the end.
Yeah. Yeah, because he's Jared Leto, and it's like, yeah, he's incredibly suspicious.
Right. Any group of suspects, you'd look at him, well, it's him. Send everybody else home. Leto is here.
Yeah, arrest him.
Yeah.
Even if he's not the killer, arrest him.
Arrest him
for
anyway.
Whatever he actually is doing.
You remember when he did the weird Frankenstein performance in The Little Things?
No,
Where
I don't remember any of that.
He walked like Frankenstein and did this like weird ass performance.
I don't remember the movie you're referring to.
We covered it on We Just Watched.
Which one was it?
It's the one with Denzel and Rami Malek. It's a.
Oh, okay. They need to rename that because The Little Thing sounds like a romantic comedy.
It sure does.
Yeah, I remember the movie now. But like that title, it's like that's not a thriller.
It's not a good title. It's a bad title.
It's a bad title.
I mean, it fits the movie, but like it just sort of it's a real generic title. Anyway,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's a different movie. Yeah. This is all to say. I just want to like. I hate doing these reviews where I'm just like, it's not. Again, I didn't hate the movie. Like I said, I almost dozed off. I just didn't. They didn't give me anything.
that's fair. It's totally fair.
Yeah. It just. It
Totally
wasn't.
fair.
Yeah. It was just. It didn't. I wanted more. I wanted that trailer.
Do you wanted it to be more depraved?
Yeah. I wanted to be surprised.
I would've
I wanted
liked-
something to shake me out of my little slump because it was like 4:00 and I'm old, so
Yeah,
I'm like,
that's a tall
I'm like
task.
getting tired
Yeah,
now.
getting sleepy-
like maybe
sleepy
if maybe if I saw it in the morning, I'd be more interested. But like it was just like it's like a movie that we watch on Friday night where it's just like it's fine, but we talk over it. Like it feels like a movie I'd talk over.
Oh,
a
for
lot.
sure. Yeah, it lends itself very well to that. I would have liked that version as well. I think. I did like this version, but I would have also liked to have seen like a true, just really go for a grimy ass drive-in movie.
Yeah.
You probably wouldn't have been able to put that in theaters though.
Yeah, it's not bad. I think to put it into perspective, like I'll watch any ghost movie
Sure. Yeah.
and get something out of it.
Yeah. I've watched
don't
all
have
those
that-
goddamn Hell House movies.
Exactly. Exactly. I don't have the same feelings on slashers. For slashers, for me, it's like I don't. And we've talked about this before. It's part of why Eli Roth. Again, it's not like you can make arguments about his tone and cynical or the cruelty or the othering, but ultimately, like the torture stuff, it's just not. It's just not for me, you know.
Right. Nothing when I'm watching a slasher, like you're right. I don't go to these as much because the gore is not something I can constantly watch. I do like slasher movies and I like Eli Roth's movies, but it's not like a ghost movie where it's like I have to be kind of in the mood to watch something that's like a splatter movie. But if you're gonna make a splatter movie, it damn well better splatter. So like nothing makes me more upset than when I watch a slasher
sure,
movie
like
and all the
PG-13
and it's all
yeah.
weak ass kills and shit.
Yeah. And that's all to say that like if your thing is slasher movies, if you watch them all and if you love them all, then this will be for you.
Yeah.
I just don't get that as much. Like I don't find them scary.
No, I do. I do experience tension watching them. Not that much, but some.
Yeah.
And it also depends on what kind of like this is the type of slasher movie that would make me feel tension. Not a Jason, like a whodunit, where there is like an element of the unknown left in there. With Jason, you're just in you're watching a football game basically.
Right, like Jason, it's like the
rooting
biggest
for
thing
Jason.
at Jason. Right, the biggest thing a Jason movie, the biggest problem one could have is for it to be boring.
Yeah.
Right.
That's any movie really, but yeah.
Oh yeah, but like for the kills to be boring, for it to because you're not rooting for the main characters. You're not you're not trying to figure out who done it.
Character.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's all to say. Like if you're a slasher film and you'll take them any way you can get them, I'm sure you'll like this.
Yeah.
And it's not getting
Decent
bad
one.
reviews or anything.
That's getting actually pretty good reviews.
Yeah.
Probably the best of his career, honestly.
Yeah, probably.
It might be.
Yeah. Yeah, we can expect fucking 8 more of these.
Probably.
Yeah.
I wonder if this is I don't know. It does feel a little safe, so I wonder, even though it is pretty gory, I wonder if this was like a one for them type deal.
I don't know. It does feel safe.
To get
it
some
feels
money for some weird shit.
Well, that's the thing is I think like he hasn't been making movies that are making a lot of money or getting good reviews.
No.
So I think this was safe.
Yeah.
Because he's like, oh, I'll do the meme. I'll do the thing. I don't think he ever wanted to make Thanksgiving. Because if he did, he would have made it immediately. I think Thanksgiving was a joke. It was a gag idea, and the whole point was to point out how dumb those movies were, right?
The narrator of the trailer was so great. Just
Yeah.
that voice was so stupid.
Right. It was done as a joke. And so I think there's something weird in then just doing it serious, like
Doing it earnestly,
unironically
yeah.
doing it.
It's
Yeah.
a little ironic.
It's a little bit, but not nearly as much as it could have been.
No,
because the
that's
joke
true.
was very meta.
I'm glad
so,
that
like-
this one isn't meta, though, because I'm exhausted with the meta shit.
Yeah, I didn't need it to be too meta, but I
Mm-hmm.
did need it to be like take itself very seriously and be very over the top, I guess.
Yeah,
and that would have been
I
in
would've-
my mind. That would have been meta too, just not in the way.
Not in
if-
the same way that I'm talking about, for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
I would have
It's-
liked that version of the movie too. Yeah,
Yeah.
if it had been way over the top.
Oh yeah. I think that's what I really needed.
To be clear, this movie's not over the top. They do carve a slice out of a lady's thigh and they show it to you, and then they serve the piece of meat to this guy who's vomiting through his gag. This movie's not over the top, but
Yeah, but it's not. I don't know. It's not like I really needed the killer to be something unique, I guess, to be like it could be a literal turkey. I don't care.
or
like,
a literal pilgrim, like a
yeah,
phantom
or like
from the
a monster of some
17th
sort. Yeah.
century. Yeah.
Or like it's a bunch of them. It's a cult. You know, it's like
Cult
a
of the
Thanksgiving
Pilgrim.
cult.
Yeah. If it was the
I was
whole
expecting
police
something
force,
like
that would have
that.
been a neat idea.
Yeah, that was. When I thought it was that was
Like
like
a
kind of
howling
cool
situation.
in my head. Yeah, where they're like a weird cult and they hate the town. They hate, they'd hate the Black Friday rush or something. Or if it was all the employees or something like that. But like I could see that idea. Like that feels like almost a Jordan Peele observation. Kind of like the Menu, if it's all the middlemen, if it's all the people who have to work there.
Yeah.
And it's like the managers are making them like they do the thing where the guy is being made to work on Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
I think that would have been a neat idea. Or if it was like the dead people, like all the dead people were somehow alive. Like I needed, I don't know. I wish there was like something crazier that this was. Whatever. It is what it is. It's fine.
I could have or a truly out there choice, like the killer is like some fucking baseball scout for some
Yeah, fuck it.
NCAA school or whatever, and he's like, that kid Bobby was gonna make me so much money and you broke his arm, you fucking broke his
Right.
arm, I'll kill y'all.
Something real fucking weird. That would have been
just
great.
real
Like
deranged.
like Jason's mom in Friday the 13th
it's
or one, where you're
completely
like,
unpredictable. You could not predict that. So
No,
that
you
does deflate the whodunit aspect. I don't like it when they do that in whodunits, but in the spirit
But
of
it
this
is
being an
like-
over the top slasher movie, I think I would have been okay with a reveal like that for sure, as long as
Yeah.
it was like weird as fuck.
yeah, I needed weirder. For sure. Like again, a turkey, just a walking, talking turkey or something. Give me something real weird, because the nature of the crimes is real weird. That's the thing. I can't stress that enough. I said that at the beginning, and that kind of rubbed me the wrong way, which is like the crimes are so grotesque and loud,
Right, it's
that I
so
kind of needed the killer to be grotesque and loud in
deranged,
some way. Yeah,
You're right. It is extremely deranged. I think the fact that they quickly established that this does not take place in the real world helps that somewhat. But you're right. It is such a deranged, like, Jeffrey Dahmer could barely pretend to be normal in public, and by all accounts he didn't succeed at it most of the time. And the nature of his crimes were like as intense as this movie, so it's like if somebody was hiding that level of derangement, it would leak out a little bit more probably. Right. But again, it's not supposed to be a character study of a real serial killer or anything, but it does. Right. But again, I do in the context of this movie, like to be fair, I guess, with the movie on its own terms, it does feel like a little bit of a cheat in terms of a whodunit. It's like, really, this laced up normal dude is cooking people alive for a Thanksgiving dinner.
Right. And again,
it's a little bit much. That's fair.
Yeah, and I would say the movie definitely wants you to it to be a whodunit because they keep giving you these.
They give you a lot of perfectly, any one of them I would have been, yeah, that makes sense. It's like I would have bought any of them as the killer, is what I'm saying.
Right, and they also give Patrick Dempsey this motive after the fact that it's like, oh yeah, they present it like a whodunit in that, but it is a meta whodunit because the only way to figure out whodunit is to think like, well, why is Patrick Dempsey in this if he doesn't have a big role?
He had enough of a motive that if you had settled on him, I mean, like you did. Like you could have just felt like, oh, he's close friends with that guy Mitch and his wife clearly, right. and his wife was killed, and there is a little bit of an element of it's not obvious, and I don't think it was really Eli Roth's intent, but of what you suggested earlier, where it's sort of the revenge of all the people who were forced to work at the shop, because it is kind of the revenge of all the blue collar people in the town who had to go deal with this Black Friday store, right. So he's punishing the customers and the people responsible for the store being open alike. So you could have just gleaned it. Like that would have been enough of a motive. Like it killed one of his best friends and destroyed his other best friend. So like, I think the additional reveal that he's having a relationship with Gina Gershon and she was secretly pregnant with his child and was about to leave her husband gives him a deeper motive. And it also recasts him as a bad guy from Jump. So I think that, because it kind of, you're like, oh, he's not a good guy. He never was. So obviously the fact that he slept with his friend's wife and was gonna run off with her, that doesn't, that level of shittiness is not
jail time. Yeah.
Right. That level of shittiness is not the same as like it's not the same state of mind that makes you roast somebody alive or anything. But there was motive there enough for him, and I did appreciate that this wasn't, it just kind of gave him more depth to his motive, and also was like he's always been kind of a shit. He's just really been hiding it. He's been pretending to be nice.
Right. I think they needed like a John Doe in this, like Seven. Like it really does kind of need to be someone we haven't seen because of the nature of the crime, I guess. Because, like you said, it could have been anybody because there's not enough logic tying anybody to this level of murders, Right. That's why, again, it feels like early 2000s whodunit, where it feels like they just like the screenwriter rolls a die at the end and goes, okay, it's that person, because it's all kind of interchangeable for the most part of who it is. Although I would argue in this is a little more care, because I did think like the moment he's using that dart gun and shit, I'm like, this feels like a cop. It just feels like a cop to me. Like I think he gave it away that it was a cop by just the way he was dispatching people, because it's like, who uses a gun? Like, why is a killer using a dart gun? That's a cop. That's a cop. Is using grenades and a dart gun. Yeah. That's cop shit. Yeah.
But fair, yeah. I wasn't thinking about that.
Yeah. I think though ultimately the point of this movie isn't to be an expert, amazing whodunit, nor is it to make logical sense why the killer's doing what he's doing. I think it's just to make a fun slasher,
Yeah.
And I don't know. I'm curious to know if he was thinking about the early 2000s, because it almost felt like it was purposeful throwback to me to that era. And if that's the case, that really bums me out, because I don't think we should start doing that, even though we inevitably will, right?
Yeah,
we're inevitably going to do that.
Yeah, they're going to remake Valentine.
Right, and it's just like that's a bad era for slashers, and horror in general.
Fear.com.
Oh. But that's the thing. I'll watch Fear.com because it's a ghost.
Oh
thing.
hell yeah, it definitely
Yeah.
is.
Some stupid ghost thing.
It really is.
So that's
All right, I think we've talked enough about Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Yeah.
We hope you have a good Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
Watch out for Patrick Dempsey's.
Yep.
We have a Patreon, patreon.com/gamefully unemployed, GAMEFULOY unemployed. You go on there for just $5 a month. You get access to exclusive podcasts like Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Fox Mulder's Maniac, Star Trek The Next Futurama, Spiel Boys. We watch movies every Friday night with our patrons. Movies like Fear.com.
Yeah, that'll definitely get watched if it hasn't already.
I think it has been.
I think we've watched it, yeah. We also have a store. Head over to gamefullyunemployed.com where you can find a link to our Teespring store, where we have all kinds of cool original artwork and designs. You can get on t-shirts, mugs, stickers, posters, all sorts of things. So slap your pilgrim peepers onto that. And leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen.
Do it. And again, watch out for Dempsey's. They're everywhere.
Any errant Dempseys, if you see one going through your trash, just lock the doors and call animal control.
Yeah. Burn your trampolines.
Mm-hmm. Turn them all upside down. That way he can't slither underneath them like a little snake.
Exactly.
Like a little pilgrim snake.
Sneaky little Dempsey.
Sneaky little Dempsey. Woo. like a whimsical character.